This is a Toyota Sienna van, and the customer called because they wanted to have a front pump seal put in their transmission because it was leaking from the front pump area. Okay, what I want to show you all is that where it was leaking from. So here's the transmission. We have it out, and if you could see this clearly, we took the seal out here, and you will see that the bushing has moved out here. Okay, now the bushing probably holds back, I don't know, 90% of the oil, where the seal may hold back the other 10%, maybe something like that. So when the bushing comes out or walks out or goes bad or wears out, the seal cannot hold the oil. Okay, sometimes you may have a torque converter that's bad, but if you can see that the bushing is out like that, then you know where the problem is. Now, if you can press another bushing in, then you will probably be safe, but it's best to Loctite it. If it presses in and it has a I don't know, a tight fit, you Loctite it, then you can get away with it. If it doesn't have a tight fit with a new bushing, then it's best to get a whole nother pump assembly, which in turn then you will have to take this transmission part or the bell housing off in order to replace it with a pump that has, or the pump face that has the bushing in there. Now, even though you know this is bad and you figure you want to try to put another one in, it's probably best to still take this bell housing off and take the pump out and examine it from the back, because if the damage of that front face on this pump is, you know, like have a ridge inside there, you want to be able to know that. And it's kind of hard to tell by simply looking at it from only this side. Some will be tempted to say, okay, yes, I am going to try to knock a bushing in there so that they can be over and done with. But look, you have a lot of work to do when taking this transmission out. This is an all-wheel drive unit, so therefore you do not want to sit up there and be putting in a front pump bushing and then have to go through the trouble of putting this all together only to have it leak again, or leak in a few weeks because you didn't do what was best to do. Okay, so I would advise that if anybody going to take this transmission out, then what you do is you take that bell housing off and then take that pump out and inspect it. Okay, but I will tell you this: when people have front pump seal leaking coming from where the bell housing meets the engine, the very first thing they say, and customers say, can you change the front pump seal? But I have not seen a seal be the problem. I would say often it has mostly been something else, either maybe a bad torque converter or the bushing, or, you know, that's what I've seen. The seal is the very last thing that seems to go bad, unless it's very old. What I mean, like a 1970 or maybe 80, maybe even a 90, because the seals start to get very hard, and then they start to allow the fluid to leak past it. But for the most part, 90% of the time, there is a problem somewhere else other than the seals. Okay, so again, this is a Toyota, and this transmission is a U151 Okay, a U151. You can say F2, U151F. All right, so after we fix this, then we're going to put it back in, and that is going to be it for that. Okay, here's that U151 that's out of that Toyota, and the seal right here, bushing right here, going to take this pump out. Now again, one will be tempted to just try to put a bushing in there and knock it in and say, okay, it's good to go. But again, you can't be lazy. Okay, you need to make sure. Now, some who have experience with this will say, oh, I already know. I've gone through this many times and I don't have to worry about it. It's not going to cause a problem. We can knock it right in. Well, okay, if you had that experience, go ahead. But me, I'm going to take the bell housing off because I want to be sure. Was this here or was this like that? Now see, I didn't pay attention. Whew. Now, okay, it's like this. All right. Go ahead, what you saying?
How do you check the neutral with a meter to see if it's got continuity? What do you check when you do that? When you're checking on them pins, you know, inside the neutral for a ground?
You're checking for grounds. You're checking for signals. Neutral safety switch, I think, have a voltage feed, and once it switches contacts, it's either going to be grounded or not grounded. And you have to have the diagram in order to be able to determine what is grounded and what is not grounded.
That's where I'm going to fail. Well, I already told him to bring it down here, and there's the asshole still got it in his backyard, you know.
I don't know if I should blot that last comment out of the
Right,
video
just
or
block
not.
it.
No, I know.
Just block it, right. Yeah. Yeah, because we'll be sitting in the yard, we'll be moving around forever.
Take this, make sure I don't have no bolts inside here.
I don't see any on this.
It's just a silicone that's keeping that the way it is. Move this on my way.
Get a couple tricky ones right
There you go. You want to go into his house?
Oh, I don't want to go in his house. He's drunk all the time.
All right. One, two, three.
Got any tab at all?
Alright, you're going to take these bolts out here. Let's see what this is here. Okay, it is a 30. Make sure you keep these gears the way they went in, because I don't know if you can switch them around. If you switch this around, you don't see any dots, but these have dots here, right here, so you should be looking at them. I don't know. Okay, the dots on these go down. Okay. Bushing seems pretty tight. I'm going to score this a bit and score this and then put the Loctite on, and I'm going to see if it will work, if it'll be tight enough to work.
It's 200 in the backyard.
You can move it out and bring it back in, because they're supposed to pick it up. Then after that, oh. Now the reason I rough this up is so that the Loctite can stick. This here is high temperature sleeve retainer, Permatex. I'm going to put this in there and see if I have a tight fit. seem to be pretty tight. This is another bushing. I'm just putting it on so I can try to knock this down to that ridge. This seemed like it will work now. This has a hole right here. So that's the drain back hole. You don't want to cover that because when the bushing comes forward, it'll block that hole, causing it to leak. You may want to put another notch in here. Sometime I do put a notch in here to make sure this hole is not covered. But to tell you the truth, this went in kind of tight, so this here will probably work, no problem, along with the Loctite. Only problem now is they didn't have any O-rings, so I may have to make one up, find one, or make this work. I'll see. This is a foul, but I may need some more than that to get this groove in quick enough. Okay, what I did here was put a notch in here, right here, to make sure that this doesn't cut off the oil flow. Okay, I got the Loctite around, and it did go in with a tight fit, so this bushing should not come out. Now, if this bushing was loose when I put it in, I wouldn't have tried this, but it's not loose and it will last. Okay. The next step is this O-ring. I'm gonna put a front seal in here, but we got the O-ring to put in. That's not the next step, excuse me. When I knock this in, you got to make sure that this fits on the torque converter and it's loose, because if it's tight, then you're going to have to sand this area right here because it has to be loose. I'll go get the torque converter. Okay, here's the torque converter. What you want to do is put this on like this and make sure that it moves like that. If that's tight, if it won't go down on there, won't go down, then there's a problem. But that is okay. Now the next step is to put the bushing inside there. Or excuse me, the front pump seal. So I'm going to clean this. Okay. The one they provide is different from the one they have. It has this little old sealing thing right here, and it's supposed to seal it. Don't trust that. What you do is use the adhesive sealant. Okay? If you want, you can do this. Score it just a little. This is the metal sealant. Score the inside just a little. Then put some this adhesive silicone on there. It's around. You don't want it to where it blocks this hole in here, so be careful. Okay. All right. This is the seal. It's in there. You can see the drain back hole right here. See right here. See, when this bushing slides forward, it covers this hole. Fluid goes past. Okay, so go in and these here and puck this down.
thing. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. You need to order one and see if it's supposed to look like this. Kind of hard to believe. Yeah, don't you?
Here is this folder. If you want to try to reuse this, it's best to probably put some silicone around here, but put some silicone around here, but you clean it up real good if you're going to reuse that O-ring. I wouldn't trust it. Clean this here real good with brake cleaner. You gotta be careful with brake cleaner on rubber, because if you put too much on, let it stay too long, it will start to swell the seal. So you gotta be careful. Spray it on, you wipe it off right away. My purpose here is to make this dry. Because I'm going to reuse it, but I'm going to put the silicone around here also. Let this brake cleaner dry, and then I'll get back to this. Make sure you be careful. We're getting back to this part. What you have to be careful of, it has some rubber seals right here and one right here. Make sure they didn't come out and stick onto the other half of the transmission, and you'll be messed up. Okay, this part goes here. What you gotta do is clean this part off right here. You can use the sandpaper, and you're going to clean the other part off. Well, let me get to it. Alright, I prefer to put this in here because this is a little tighter. If this is loose, it might be off and may not go down right. Now I'm going to set this in here. Wrong way. It goes like this. Right. Okay, this is finished now.